Garmin nuvi 2555 once again, this time in a motorcycle configuration. I got a question. Can you use one of these car GPSs on a motorcycle? Well, it's not waterproof, but yeah. And which one would be the best to use? It's actually two models I already have. The 2455 and the 2555, which is this. The 2495 and 2595 would be more or less useless because you only get the voice command with that, which you obviously can't use on a motorcycle, so you might as well save your money and get a 2455 or a 2555. Also, you know, rubberized case. I think I might have said that already. But the big deal with this one compared to, say, like a nuvi 56 or something like that is, first of all, I can go to settings and you can choose an A, B, C, D, E layout. And why does that matter? Because when you do a search, the keys are larger. That's good. Also on this is that it does pass the knuckle test. Now, what do I mean by a knuckle test? You're on a motorcycle, you're wearing gloves. Could you use this with gloves on, which increases the fingerprint size? And a good way to test that is, like, can you get around it with just your knuckle? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. So if I go to categories, see how these are big? I can shopping down. Yep, I can totally do it. So it passes the knuckle test. And another thing is that I can add shortcuts to the main screen, which adds a nice large area for a good knuckle test right there. So if I go category shopping, I'll just add a grocery store here. Yeah, Kroger, there we go. Save. And I'm knuckling it on purpose just to show you, yes, you can get around this with a larger fingerprint size. There it is. Now, another thing that I can do is see the add shortcut. Now, I've gone through here already and removed all the shortcuts, except the only... Actually, let me do this. You can get it just like this, so there's one... You can't get rid of the go home. That's the only one you can't remove. But if I go to add shortcut, save place, and add that save place... Okay, so now, from the main menu, I can go where to, and just hit it, and go. And right here is another thing.
Turn left on North Library Street, then turn right.
I don't know exactly how glove friendly this is, but I can get it glove friendly if I do two icons. So you have the ability to put icons direct on the map. If I go to settings, and I believe it's under map and vehicle. Yeah, map buttons. Now if I purposely only use two instead of three, I get rid of the middle one. Let me get rid of all of them actually. Okay, so I got the ability to choose three here. If I put one at the top, and I'll just use stop and detour. Stop on the top, detour in the bottom, nothing in the middle. Save. View the map. Now there's nothing there right now, but if I knuckle it, where to go. Wait till it starts.
Turn left on North Library Street.
So
turn right.
There's enough space between these two where I can go up and just nail that. Okay, so that passes the knuckle test right there. And there is another thing about this, is that it does support a portrait mode. So if I'm gonna knuckle that one, it makes these even larger, which is nice. Yeah, strangely enough, like in a vertical, you got even bigger buttons on here. That's cool. So where to go?
Turn left on North Library Street, then turn right.
That's cool. And lastly, on the view map screen, this is definitely particular to the 2455 and the 2555. If I hit the hamburger menu, these icons are giant. That's cool. So, and the ones that you would need more often than not, well, the only one, where to, I wish that was on the first page, but it's not. But you've got traffic, well, if you have the traffic cord hooked up with the GTM 25, 35, 36, or GTM 60, you can mute the volume right here, which you would do anyway, because you're not going to hear it while you're riding motorcycle. You got, this is kind of nice though, you've got your exit services, which you would see only if you're on the highway. And then, you know, hey, where am I? Which is the same as on, if you tap the car, same thing. So in a nutshell, yeah, I think this one, if you're going to go cheap and use a car GPS on a motorcycle, instead of a Garmin Zumo, Z-U-M-O. Now the Zumo is totally built for motorcycle use, but it's expensive. It is. That's just the way around it. You can get one of these, on the other hand, a 2455 or a 2555 for cheap. As in, well, if you look around enough, you can probably get one for under $30. Not bad, not bad. Although, and I did mention this in a comment I was having with someone about it, is this guy right here. This is the clip, the mounting clip that's for the 255. You know, I've labeled it as such. This is not good enough to use on a motorcycle. It totally is not. So what that means is that you would be better off using a smartphone claw style mount to hold this thing in place. I do have, if I can, it's right there. Can you even see that? Well, anyway, the USB thing is right there. So it would work. It would work. Yeah, but if it gets rained on, I mean, this thing's done. If it gets rained on, I mean, you can silicone seal the screen. There are other methods, but yeah, rain is your enemy with this one, to be certain, because it's not weatherproof. It absolutely is not weatherproof. But anyway, back to the mounting thing. Yeah, this thing, not good enough for motorcycle use. Not a chance. It'll fall right off the mount. You hit even a moderate bump, a little shake in the road. No, it's not going to do it. And the last thing to talk about just before ending this is how to avoid interference that would mess with the GPS signal on this thing. Well, first of all, you need clean power. Don't wire it direct to the battery, not a good idea. And the other thing you can do is you have to get it away from the engine. You just do. Now it's going to be away from the engine, but I mean as far away from it as you can. So if you have it, like, let's just put it back over to horizontal here. Where are you? Oh no, it's under display. Landscape. Okay. So if you got this guy in horizontal and you've got your gauge cluster, if you can mount this thing above your gauge cluster on a motorcycle, just get it as high mounted as possible. That should being the operative word, work, because it is typical that if you try one of these, it will work when the motorcycle is off, but as soon as you start that engine, the GPS signal cuts right out because it's belching out a bunch of interference, electrical. Yeah. So how do you get around that? Well, you mount it high and you make sure that the where you plug in the charger is just in a place where least likely to have interference. I know you barely have anywhere to mount anything on a motorcycle, and also it depends on the bike. It's very tough to give recommendations on this. I mean, you could try it, see if it works, but if the signal cuts out, on this thing the moment you start the bike. There's not really that many options available to you other than raising it above the gauge, above the gauge cluster, because the antenna is right within the unit, the GPS antenna. I suppose you could try it on battery alone, but to run this thing on just battery, you're going to run out of power constantly on this thing, that is. So if you can get a 12 volt accessory port, assuming your bike doesn't have one, as long as it's clean, maybe do the add a fuse thing. I'm not educated enough on motorcycles to really know what a proper recommendation would be. Essentially, treat it the same way as if you were going to mount a smartphone. So and what I mean by that is that if on the bike you have a lot of problems holding a smartphone signal, you're obviously going to have a problem holding a GPS lock as well. So you got to take shield as much as you can, wherever you can, and hopefully it'll work. So, but in the end, yeah, this guy right here, the two models of the 2455, which is a 4.3 inch screen, and the 2555, this is a 5-inch guy. Meant for cars, can be used on bikes. I don't guarantee it will work, but at least you know it's like, what's the one I could use with the glove? Because the icons are just so large on this thing, that's what makes it work more than anything else. So, I mean, you shouldn't be even interacting with the screen while piloting a motorcycle, but, you know, I'm not the boss of you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But I will give this PSA. Don't do that. I'll just say that. Don't do that. But anyway, it's got enough space to it and icons large enough to where, yep, you can get around with this. The only thing that would be really difficult is actually having to type anything on that's just not really. But if you do a category, yeah, you can do the category search. Yeah, you can knuckle that easily. Right. Yeah. Yeah, you can, like I said, it's the most knuckle friendly, glove friendly for one of these car GPSs. Hey, if you try it and you're successful with it, post a comment below. I would love to know. Honestly, you'd be helping out other riders. So, because I don't ride, I don't own a motorcycle, I just do cars. So if you tried this and it actually worked, hey, join the conversation, or, you know, if there's no conversation, post something anyway. So, because some riders, they just don't want to spend 300, 400, 500 bucks on a Zumo. They'd rather get one of these for 30 bucks and just run with that. So, hey, give it a try.